the slap came out of nowhere. One sharp crack across my cheek, echoing through the house I'd built with my bare hands 40 years ago. For a second, I couldn't even feel it. The pain came after, hot, stinging, humiliating. My daughter-in-law, Vanessa, stood there with her arms still raised, eyes blazing with the kind of hatred I never thought I'd see in my own home. And then, as if the slap wasn't enough, she said it, those words that carved themselves into my heart. "Give me the house keys, Eleanor. You don't live here anymore." Before I tell you how I turned that moment into my greatest revenge, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and tell me in the comments which city you're watching from. Because this story, my dear, isn't just about a slap. It's about how one woman took back her dignity when her own family tried to throw her away. My name is Eleanor Hayes, and I'm 72 years old. I've lived in this house since I was 31. My husband, Richard, built it with his hands, every nail, every plank soaked with his sweat and love. We raised our son, Adam, here. I made his favorite pancakes in this kitchen, bandaged his knees when he fell off his bike, stayed up all night through his teenage heartbreaks. I gave my whole life to this home and to them. But the day I met Vanessa, I knew trouble had found its way in. She was beautiful, that kind of sharp beauty that doesn't soften when it smiles. She worked in marketing, always on her phone, always talking fast, her eyes scanning the room like she was constantly calculating something. Adam was smitten, of course. He said she was ambitious, and I smiled because that's what mothers do, we smile even when our hearts whisper warnings. They married 2 years later, and at first, I tried to stay out of their way. I cooked when they visited, sent them Christmas gifts, and never interfered. But when Richard passed away, Adam insisted I move in with them. He said it would make things easier, that he wanted me close. I hesitated, but loneliness is a cruel companion. So I packed my life into boxes and moved into the guest room of my own son's house, a house I had quietly gifted him years ago after Richard's death, thinking it would give him a stable future. I never imagined it would be used against me. At first, things were fine. Vanessa was polite, distant, but polite. She'd let me cook sometimes, though she'd always adjust my recipes after I finished. Then small things began. My teacups disappeared. My framed photos got replaced with her modern art. My rocking chair was moved to the garage. One evening, she accidentally donated a box of my old letters and trinkets. I cried quietly in my room that night, realizing I was fading out of my own home. Then came the slap. It was a Friday afternoon. Vanessa had friends over, laughing loudly, glasses clinking. I came out to make myself some tea. She saw me and frowned like I was a stain on her perfect tablecloth. "Mom," she said, her voice dripping with impatience, "I told you not to come out when I have guests." I blinked. "This is my home too, dear." She laughed. "Your home? You gave it to Adam. It's ours now. You're a guest here." I looked at her, really looked, and something inside me snapped. "Maybe," I said quietly, "but guests deserve respect." That's when she slapped me. Adam came home later that night. I expected him to defend me. Instead, he sighed and said, "Mom, please don't provoke her. She's under stress." I realized then I'd lost him too. But what Vanessa didn't know was that beneath my quiet exterior lived the woman Richard once called the storm and silk. I had lived through harder things, poverty, loss, betrayal. I wasn't going to die small in the corner of my own house. I spent the next weeks in silence, but inside, I planned. Every morning, I took my tea and sat on the porch, pretending to be frail. Vanessa liked to believe I was too weak to fight back, and I let her believe it. What she didn't know is that the house's deed, though gifted to Adam, had one clause she'd never seen. When I signed it over, my lawyer suggested adding a life estate, meaning I had the legal right to live there until my death. Adam had forgotten, Vanessa never knew. I called my lawyer, Mr. Thompson, and we met in secret. "Eleanor," he said with a grin, "you still hold the key to everything." That night, I quietly began my revenge. First, I started recording. Every insult, every command, every cruel word Vanessa threw at me. I bought a tiny camera and placed it inside a plant pot in the kitchen. Within days, I had hours of footage, her calling me names, mocking my age, even shoving me once. Next, I reached out to Adam's boss, a kind man named Gerald who'd known our family for years. I didn't tell him details, but I hinted that Vanessa's behavior might cause unpleasant publicity. It wasn't a lie. Finally, I invited Vanessa's parents for dinner. She didn't want them to come, said they were judgmental, but I insisted, and Adam supported me. The night of the dinner, I served everything perfectly. Vanessa looked uneasy. When everyone sat down, I quietly placed my tablet on the table, pressed play, and the room filled with her own voice. Old hag. She's useless. She should be in a nursing home. Her parents' faces drained of color. Adam's fork froze mid-air. Vanessa tried to grab the tablet, but I held it tight. Enough, I said, my voice calm. Everyone deserves to know how you treat the woman who raised the man you claim to love. She ran out crying. Adam followed her, but the damage was done. A week later, Vanessa moved out. She told Adam she couldn't live under the same roof as me. He stayed, at first, torn between us. But when he found out about the life estate clause, he realized the house was never truly his to give. The argument that followed shook the walls. I sat in my room, listening as years of deception unraveled. In the end, Adam left with her. They rented an apartment downtown. The silence that filled the house afterward was heavy but peaceful. I cleaned every room, replaced her art with my old photos, and sat in my rocking chair again, the one she'd stuffed in the garage. Months passed. One morning, a letter arrived. It was from Vanessa. She apologized, or tried to. She said she'd acted out of frustration, that she'd never meant to hurt me. At the end, she wrote, "I hope you can forgive me." I didn't reply. Some things don't need words. Instead, I called my lawyer again. "Mr. Thompson," I said, "I'd like to amend my will." He nodded. "Of course, Eleanor. What changes?" "I want the house to go to the local women's shelter after I pass. Not to Adam, not to anyone else." He smiled. "That's poetic justice." And so, I did. Now, every Sunday, I bake cookies for the shelter's volunteers. They remind me of younger women, some broken, some fighting, all trying to rebuild. Sometimes they ask about my family, and I simply say, I had one once. Do I miss Adam? Every day. But love doesn't mean allowing someone to destroy your dignity. It took me a lifetime to learn that. The slap that day hurt, oh, it did, but it also woke me up. It reminded me that I was never powerless, that even old hands can hold the pen that rewrites their story. And maybe, just maybe, somewhere deep inside, Vanessa still hears the echo of her own cruelty when she looks in the mirror. Maybe she remembers that the woman she tried to break stood taller than ever, and took everything back. If you've ever been hurt by someone who thought your kindness was weakness, don't forget to subscribe and share this story. And tell me in the comments which city you're watching from. Because sometimes revenge isn't about hurting back, it's about surviving so beautifully that they can't stand the sight of your strength.